Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Tuesday, August 6, 2019 Council meeting. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for picking that up for me. I'm glad you're all here. I hope you all had a wonderful long weekend. So we did call the meeting to order at 9 a.m. We did have an in-camera session, so we are just, we have ex-cameraed, but I do have a motion before me. And that is moved by Councillor Herger, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby returns to open session of Council at 10 a.m. Questions, comments? All those in favor? Oh, yes? Please
Just note a couple changes. The one consent agenda resolution regarding the allegedly May 13th special council meeting, there was an error made that was brought to the attention at the last meeting regarding we had regrets.
Is this not just on the rise? Motion?
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. We're all absolutely eager and very professional. Nope, we're just moving ahead. So I have moved and seconded the motion to return to open session. Any comments? Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Thank you. I know it's a quick agenda, or it would appear to be, but we'll just move along. I can say as mayor that the only items that we did discuss in camera were the only items that were discussed. So that takes us off item 4, the closed session. Item 5 is matters arising from closed session. There is nothing. And then now we're on to item 6, which is comment period. Members of the audience, yes. Please attend at the podium. Just state your name as normal. You're very familiar with that, Marion.
I'm Marion Ratcliffe, a resident of Glenelg Township. I have a question and comment, I guess, regarding the Committee of the Whole Planning minutes for July 9th, 2019, specifically relating to the John Welton subdivision dark sky lighting. The committee did ask the question, and thank you, regarding dark sky lighting, but the written answer is vague. It's on page 23 of your minutes. By older standards, the current LEDs are dark sky approved because they're shielded, but light pollution surveys have shown that that's not enough. Environmentalists and astronomers are very concerned about the increase in light pollution, and that color and intensity need also be addressed. So my question for you is, can we get more information, or did you perhaps get more information regarding the lighting choices for that new subdivision?
Okay, one moment. Thank you very much for the question. Clerk Turner, with regard to that agreement, was there further discussion with the applicant, the developer?
The response received was that the lighting was in compliance with dark skies requirements. So that was the ultimate response. That was the end of it.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess it just remains, can we get further information specifically relating to the color, the intensity of the lighting that they're going to be choosing?
I think that, is that a difficulty in terms of having that dialogue with the developer? So, yeah, that's fine. We will get that information. Okay, thank you very much. And the skies were beautiful this weekend, quite frankly. Yes. Yeah, thank you for your comments on that. Anything further? Yes, please. Thank you, Frank. Yep. Oh, just your mic. You just have to press the button. We certainly can hear in the chamber just for
stayed on.
the recording.
I'll
there
start
you go.
again.
Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Frank Dahm from Dahm Construction.
Yep.
I believe there's a site plan approval process going through today. If there's any questions that you would have for me that I can answer to make this go seamless, I'd appreciate it. There's been a lot of interest in the units, 3 apartment units we have prepared, so we really have a need for it. Ron Davidson, I believe, was given his stamp of approval. Saugeen Valley has given their stamp of approval, so I think we're waiting on just yours. So if there's any concerns that I can help out at this point, please ask.
Is there anything, member of council, on this particular item? Yep, go ahead, Councillor Herger.
Actually, I don't have any concern. I do appreciate the amount of effort that was put into this site plan, so thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, certainly we would echo that. It's a really good-looking a building and just an opportunity for people to live in Ayton, I think is absolute plus. So it's one of the developments that I've been watching. So thank you very much for that. All right, well, thank you. Thanks for being here at the podium. Okay, great. Anything further from anyone in the audience? Okay. Oh, we'll talk to you later then. All right, thanks. All right, thank you for that. It's the interaction with the audience is actually one of the things that I really like, so I appreciate that. All right, so we are off comment period. Item 7 is the public meetings, which there are none on this agenda. We are now at item 8, Part 1, consent agenda. Clerk Turner, did you want to speak to this, or shall I introduce it? All right. All right, so moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Shea. Be it resolved that items A1 to B1 inclusive contained in Part 1 consent agenda be adopted as amended, and further that the authorization be given for the action to be taken as may be necessary to give effect to the recommendations contained therein. Clerk Turner?
Yes, so a couple of changes. The one resolution in the consent agenda relating to what was noted as the May 13, 2019 special council meeting. In fact, it was May 31st, 2019, so that's one change. And then again, in those minutes, it was noted that there was regrets from Councillor Beth Hamilton. However, Councillor Hamilton was indeed in attendance, so that would be deleted as well. In terms of the future committee meetings, just some changes or corrections. The West Grey Committee of the Whole Planning meeting is actually scheduled for 1:20 p.m. and the date wasn't indicated. It is August 13th here at the West Grey office. There will be a West Grey Committee of Adjustment meeting that same day, August 13th, 1 p.m. at the West Grey Municipal Office. There is also a Durham Cemetery Board meeting on August 14th at 3:30 p.m. at the West Grey office. And I should note that the West Grey Dark Sky Committee meetings that's noted for August 26th has indeed been canceled. And that's it for, correct? Is that correct? I believe it has been canceled.
Yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it.
All right, so my intent is to call the question on the motion and then move along to miscellaneous correspondence, of which there is a C8 item. Sure, okay. Thank you for that. And I will deal with the miscellaneous correspondence after I call the question on this. Councillor Shea, please.
Thank you, Mark. My question was resolved. The minutes didn't capture that we had agreed to do a facilities tour with the existing Public Works Director. And I was hoping that should be in the minutes, but I discussed with the CAO and that's in the works, so I'm fine if it's in the minutes or not.
Okay, very good. Councillor Townsend.
Yes, when we recommended or set the dates for our vision and brainstorming meetings, we also discussed the Durham one and set that for September 24th, but that's not captured either in the minutes. The other two are.
We didn't, I don't think we captured the Durham, we only did the
So we didn't formally
Newstat and
finalize
Ayton
that?
at this point.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
It'll come back.
So the recommendation before us will be to just approve those dates for the Ayton and Newstat to get those approved. Those other dates, we have to come to a consensus with the members of council on that one. But thank you very much for that clarity as usual. I appreciate it. Okay, so I will call the question if there's nothing else. Usually we don't get this much attention at this point, but it's so appreciated. So calling the question on the consent. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Now we are going to move along to the miscellaneous, and there is an item that we do want to address. And I address on the item on C8, if anybody wishes to address that. Councillor Hamilton, please.
Yes, thank you. Could we please lift C8 to be presented under new business? And that would be Diane Jones' Committee of the Whole resolution on climate change crisis.
Yes, thank you for clarifying the item, and you're appropriate to move that. We are looking for a 2/3 vote to agree to pull it to the new business, and I'm looking for that right now. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, carried unanimously. So that item will be moved over to new business. All right, thank you. So that takes us all the way to Part 2, regular agenda. Item 9, which is communications from mayor and members of council. I'll begin, and then I will start on my left. Very quickly, I attended Symphony in the Barn this weekend. It was an incredible weekend, and I absolutely encourage everyone to go out and experience that. I also attended the opening of the fabulous Festival of Fringe Film. It seems so long ago, but that was certainly an amazing an event. The only other things I'd like to mention is pay attention to the fall fairs that are coming up. Yes, it is that time of year. So August 9th begins the Bentic Hanover Fall Fair. And then we also have the Durham Fall Fair, which is August 30th, 31st, and September 1st. And the program book is out. And it's fun for the whole herd for the theme this year. And that is the 161 Durham Fall Fair. Newstep Fall Fair is September 20th and 21st. The theme is Mason Jars and Shining Stars, and it is 149th, and the book is out. So I'd encourage one and all to exhibit if you're so inclined. There's lots to do at the fall fairs. Thank you. Councillor Townsend, please.
I have nothing to report this time.
Well, thank you very much. Councillor Herger.
Yes. So I attended at the Saugeen Municipal Airport, and the Hanover Sights and Sounds was actually offering some helicopter rides. So myself and several little children went up in helicopters for the first time. It was quite a different experience than flying in a regular airplane. So anyway, I encourage everyone to come out to the Saugeen Municipal Airport. It's one of our joint assets, and even just take a look around. Maybe someone would offer a flight for you. This weekend, we have the 8-and-Ball tournament, Friday through Sunday. There's lots of food opportunities, lots of good sports games going on. Obviously, baseball is the hot topic, but on Friday night there will be some Olympics that are held amongst the teams and others. So we also have a breakfast on Saturday provided by Trixie's Saloon. It will be at Centennial Hall, and then Sunday morning would be the Firefighters Association. Steve Lawrence will be there all weekend with food, and there's drinks available as well. Friday night is the Colleen Lawrence Memorial in Neustadt, starting with a pasta dinner, and then Saturday morning is the run walk, and there's opportunities for 10K, 5K, and 1K. Bring the kids too. There's lots of opportunities for them to wiggle and get some exercise. Knox United Caribbean Festival here in Durham would be August 17th. We have Gemini's Open House coming up. I do have a couple items that I'd like to bring up for further discussion at some point. Would be the Ayton Arena parking lot repave. There was a section that was not included in there, so
Right.
Most of the parking lot has been repaved, and the work looks fantastic, but we'll look to this one section that also needs to be included. I'm looking for some more information on the bike registry that I read about in the newspaper that would be provided through the West Grey Police Service Department, and I'm not sure if that is only for bicycles or if that would be extended to dirt bikes, chainsaws, I mean, the things that go missing in West Grey, right? So also, I would encourage everyone on your own personal property to record those serial numbers and so on. It does help our department retrieve those items and get them back to you. That'll be it.
Thanks. We will have our chief of police out at a future meeting and to talk about the annual report, and we will include the information about the bike registry for you. Okay, thank you for that thorough report. Councillor Shea.
I'll just mention that I did register my bike on the registry and got a follow-up call from one of the officers asking a question to clarify some things that I had entered wrong. So I was very impressed with the level of service. Not much more to report. I attended the film festival as well. I also met with a couple of other councillors with some talking to some citizens with regards about speeding near the schools in Durham. So I think we'll be having further action on that item in the near future. That's all for today.
Thank you very much for that thorough report. Deputy Mayor, please.
Good morning. I won't repeat a bunch of the activities, just a couple highlights. I did participate in the Durham Firefighters Golf Tournament. I think that was another successful outing. The mayor did join my table for dinner, so
Yes.
next year, I believe the mayor's going to be golfing with me.
That is correct.
Anyways, I did go to the Symphony in the Barn, and again, this weekend, without repeating, the 8 and ball tournament, come on out there, so I will be there. So I can't be over at the Launce walk, but I certainly will be in 8 and all for the entire weekend. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thorough report. Now for Councillor Hamilton, please.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a busy weekend. I went to the Emancipation Festival in Owen Sound and also to Symphony in the Barn. So it was a very busy, long weekend. Just to bring everyone's attention, Grey County has drafted a recreational trails master plan for the 45 Grey County forest properties. It's in its draft form. It had an open house, and they're still receiving comments from the public, from councils. So that's open for feedback. You can find that online. I met with Emily Morrison at Launchpad. She's the executive director, and had a tour of their new wood shop, carpentry shop. That was really cool. I know Emily's working with Grey County to find some solutions for getting youth from West Grey and around Hanover to that regional Launchpad center. I also met with Bruce Davidson, Chair of Brockton's Environmental Committee, and Deputy Mayor Marie Wilson from Kincardine, and we had a good chat about some of the environmental initiatives happening in those communities. And just to note that Grey Highlands and Town of Blue Mountains have also started environmental committees as of late. So this is really encouraging, and looking forward to opportunities to work together and share information. And I'm looking forward to attending my first AMO conference. That's the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. That's coming up really soon, and quite a few of us are going, and I'm really looking forward to that opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks. Good report. Councillor Hutchinson, please.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the construction in downtown Durham to be finished. Hopefully this week. If not, it'll be next week. And they're making great progress, and it's going to be a nice project. And hopefully there'll be a little less traffic up our way. Yes, the Newstead Youth for Run for Youth is this weekend. I've participated in that many times, but I'm not going to go there this year because last year I went there and planned to walk and end up running, and wasn't a great thing after having knee surgery. So I'm going to stay away from it this year. But it is a great event and a worthwhile cause. You might have seen a lot of motorcycles around this weekend, and that was because of the Abate Festival. And even though we've had some issues in the past with this group, they do a number of things for our community, and it brings a lot of people to town. So they were out there this weekend. And another event that I was involved in is, which is an annual thing, is the Priceville McNeil Cemetery Memorial Service. And I'm on the board there, and we had a very good service on Sunday afternoon, and we have a number of West Grey residents that have family members in that cemetery. So yeah, it was a great weekend, and enjoyed it, and lots of things going on. So look forward to all the upcoming events. Thank you.
Thank you. Great report. All right, that takes us off item 9. We are on item 10, delegations. There are none on this particular agenda. Item 11, business arising from the previous meeting. There is nothing. Clerk Turner, do you have anything? And members of council? Very good. So now we're on to item 12, staff reports. We have 2 reports. The first one is our Director of Finance and Treasurer. The item is for the approval of the voucher number 15-2019. Are there any questions at this point? And if they are of significant question, I'm going to encourage members of council to email our Director of Finance and Treasurer. So if there are none, I do have a motion before me. Very good. So moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, seconded by Councillor Shea. Be it resolved that the Director of Finance and Treasurer be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher number 15-2019 in the amount of $1,205,771.96 of the Municipality of West Grey. Questions? Calling the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. The second item on the Director's report is for information, and that is information correspondence, third quarter 2019 mileage reimbursement rate. Is there anything that Council wishes to say on this? Fair enough. It is for information. So we are moving on now to the Clerk's report. Clerk Turner, your first item is Town of Halton Hills. Would you like to provide some info, please?
So the town of Halton Hills is looking for support for their resolution requesting the province to implement a full deposit return program for single-use plastic, aluminum, and metal drink containers, and to extend producer responsibility for all packaging. So if I do have a resolution if council wishes to entertain it.
Councillor Herger, please.
Yes, this is something that I will be supporting, and I would be happy to move this motion. Coming from a place in the United States, in one particular state where they offer this, would be a 10-cent deposit on any single-use item, glass, plastic, aluminum, anything. I fully support this. They integrate it so well that you can have a standalone return that you just pop the cans in, prints out a receipt, you take it inside to the cashier. This is a point in which the province hasn't really got back to producer responsibility. And this is something where if we're going to use an individual container, then we should be willing to pay for it, and then we can get our deposit back, as long as you put it in the right place. So I think this is very important, and I will be happy to move this forward, especially as it relates to our environmental sustainability committee. We know we have a ton of people that come to West Grey to enjoy the beauty of it. It's our responsibility to keep it beautiful. So I will be supporting this.
Thank you very much. You have the motion before you. Councillor Townsend, please.
Yes, if you remember when we went to Walkerton to see the styrofoam presentation about how they were compacting that to make it so that it was easier to sell and move and store until you did sell it. At that site, they also had plastic bins where you could actually, and I don't mean the bin was plastic, it was metal, it was locked, et cetera, where you could deposit plastic. And I'd like to see us support that other initiative as well. That got rid of your paper bags, your packaging, et cetera. And I noticed we do not put our garbage out because of wind, and cleanup takes longer than it does actually taking it to the landfill. And I've noticed that the bags that we have now are basically plastic only, that is not accepted in landfill, or shouldn't be, and isn't accepted in recycling. So I'd support this 100% as well for the same reason. I think we need to look at plastics in general. So yeah, let's support that.
Great. Perhaps you would second the motion then? I'll wait for it to return. Thanks for that notification. Councillor Hutchinson.
I too would like to weigh in on this topic because I think it's a very valuable topic. And I agree, I think making the deposit is a step in the right direction. It's interesting that just happened to be last night, Marketplace reran their show about plastics and how we, in the stores and whatnot, that they, they're using 2 and 3 layers of plastic on stuff like apples, things that really don't need it. So it's just sort of a mindset that we've got into using plastic. So I think anything we can do to resolve this. It's interesting that Councillor Townsend said about the plastic. We used to recycle film plastic, all the different plastics. We had a bin, and then we lost our source. We lost our supplier, but yet Brockton still does it. So it breaks my heart when I put plastic into the garbage because I don't want to put it in the garbage. But what else do? You can only accumulate so much, and then what do you do with it? So we definitely need to look at that as another solution. But I think this is a step in the right direction. It was interesting, they even had the Minister of Environment, or whatever her portfolio is called now, and she said, yes, we're working on it. They're looking at producer responsibility, and this is one solution. So I think we're on the right track, and it's out there. We can just get Tim Hortons now to do something with their cups, because when you drive down the road, that's the majority of what you pick up is Tim Hortons cups. And unfortunate, but we need to do something about that too.
Agreed. Further, anyone? All right, so no one else wishes to speak. I do have a motion moved by Councillor Hergert, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby supports the resolution of the Town of Halton Hills requesting the province to implement a deposit/return program for all single-use plastic, aluminum, and metal drink containers, review current producer requirements, and look for extended producer responsibility for all packaging. And further, that a supporting letter be forwarded to the Town of Halton Hills, Minister of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, Minister of Municipal Affairs, Affairs, Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and local MPP. Further, calling the question, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Thank you. Thank you. I'm pleased you were in the audience to see that. Thank you. The next item on the clerk's report is proposed Municipality of West Grey corporate asset naming policy. Take it away, Clerk Turner.
So the proposed naming policy was reviewed during the July 30th Committee of the Whole meeting. I did subsequently amend two of the sections that seemed to infer that it was subject really to only employees, or inferred that at least. So I eliminated those two sections. And then I did add a section that is section 8.10 on page 4, which says unless otherwise provided in an asset naming agreement, the municipality may review, amend, or remove the name of an asset of the municipality at any time. So if an asset is named and there's some changes in circumstances, whether the individual or the corporation, then the municipality has the jurisdiction to change or remove that designation.
Yes.
If council's okay with this proposed naming policy, I would bring forward a bylaw during the August 27th council meeting.
Questions? Councillor Townsend, then Councillor Shea, please.
On page 2, where we say excluding, I thought tobacco companies were going to be replaced by a more general designation, like perhaps those that are limited in the way they can advertise. Cannabis for sure was personally mentioned, right, as something that should be excluded. That was number one. Number two is we didn't deal with anything about grandfathering names that have already been approved by this current or past councils. And the reason I raise that is I don't know whether we'll make other people nervous, that now does that mean anything that's gone in the past, can be discarded? And I know there's an ability to say that we're going to look at cost of renaming and all the implications it has, right? And so that sort of covers it. A little concern there. And also, I would make an exclusion to that grandfathering that says if under section 4, paragraphs 1 to 4 are met, and it sounds kind of funny when you're saying that you could rename if these conditions were true, but if they're met, then the grandfathering wouldn't apply. So those are my two big ones. The other one was just the fact of having a typo, if I can find it again. In page 3, section 4, paragraph 5, the last sentence, I think there should be through instead of though. I think that was it. Those are the only three things I noted. So.
If council's in agreement, not with the proposed amendments, they could be put forward at the bylaw stage.
No.
Clerk, do you have any difficulty with that?
It would probably be best to know what changes would be desired by council so I can present a policy intact as much as possible. So if that is the direction, I would certainly incorporate Councillor Townsend's suggestions.
Well, if we're not prepared to do a general statement on sort of regarding companies or organizations whose advertising is restricted due to a negative image, then perhaps we can just add cannabis. I'm open either way. That was the first one. The second one about grandfathering, my comment would be grandfathering names already approved by council, current or past, unless the name meets one of the criteria outlined in section 4, paragraphs 1 to 4 of this policy.
Councillor Hutchinson.
I just have a concern with the grandfather thing. If you look at number 9, it talks about existing names will not be changed without consideration of the historical significance of the existing name or the impact of the individual organization. I'm just thinking that when you sometimes discover names out there that maybe aren't appropriate, if you grandfather them, can you change them? Like if there's something that's not right, it's nice to have that option to be able to change it. So I wouldn't want to just outright grandfather everything and say we're not going to change it, because somewhere along the line you might find something that isn't appropriate or is wrong and needs to be adjusted. So number 9 sort of covers that, does it not? In terms of talks about, we have the option to change, but given consideration to historical significance and so on.
Yeah, I made that comment as well, Councillor Hutchison.
Yeah, okay.
When I said that's also there, where you look at cost and signage and et cetera that might impact it. I just thought it would be nice to say that, and if there's a circumstance where it does meet 1 to 4, which I think is really where we would have a concern more than just because.
Right.
Right? Then that would be my only concern there.
Okay.
But either way, I'm fine. So.
Right.
Okay, so noted. How does the rest of council feel about that? Councillor Herger?
I do have a question as it relates to the tobacco. The corporations that could advertise with us. Now, there would be limitations on marketing for tobacco. Are there limitations for alcohol? Are there limitations for cannabis? And if they are, then why would we address it here? There's already policy on that, right? There's already legislation on that. So I think maybe we could exclude it even from here. It wouldn't be legal in any other situation, then it wouldn't be legal here. We could just get rid of that completely.
So members of council, do you want this back at committee of the whole for one final, because we've got some comments going back and forth. How do you wish to address this?
If I could continue, I actually would like this brought back to committee of the whole because we do have another application that was from a year or so ago, and I would like clarification on the Heritage Walkway Bridge, if that has any discussion about naming rights. That was previously talked about when we were starting our discussions about fundraising, but I would like that clarified by our council so we could proceed knowing what council would like.
So the balance of council, how do you feel about that? Do you want this back at committee of the whole again, or are you prepared to move it? So I just want to know what all of council wishes to do with this, and I don't have a motion before me, so how do you wish to proceed? Councillor Townsend.
Yeah, I'd like to see it back to committee of the whole. I had totally forgotten about the application that was already before council. That kind of triggered us to move a little quicker on it. So, yeah, I think we should have that discussion.
Back. All right, so we can refer this back to committee of the whole, and it could just be so noted if we have an agreement, and I'm just looking for nods of head, if that's okay. Let's get this done. So this is, I would utilize this committee of the whole item again as workshop, as we've done in the past, to just hammer out all the concerns of the proposed policy. All right, with that, it is so noted in the minutes. It'll be referred back to committee of the whole. All right, we will move on to the final item that's just on the flip side of the page. This is proposed bylaw number 57, 2019, Dom Holding Limited Site Plan Agreement. You do have in the bylaw, proposed bylaws section, the bylaw for consideration, but Clerk Turner, anything else to add?
Not really. I am recommending that council passes bylaw 57 of 2019. The municipal planner and municipal solicitor have indicated verbal approval. It has been reviewed by the solicitor, some minor amendments, and she is okay with that, as well as the Conservation Authority is okay, has given consent to approve or is supportive of the approval. And as well, regarding any lot grading issues, Nelson Dolly has provided a letter indicating there'd be any minimal impacts. Just a reminder that the footprint of the building is not changing. There's only a number of parking spaces and then a driveway being added to facilitate the complex.
Questions, comments? Councillor Herger, then Councillor Townsend.
Just have one quick comment. Saugeen Valley Conservation in their letter noted that we are in the township of Southgate. If we could just correct that for our future readers.
Yep, so noted. Councillor Townsend, was that the same comment?
No.
All right.
I was actually going to say, just keep in mind that there was a resident that neighbor had come back with some complaints about if that was changed from a church to an apartment building. And it appears from the solutions and the reports we've got back that those have been addressed, and therefore that shouldn't present a problem for approval.
Yeah, if you recall back, the Committee of the Whole planning that this item was brought forward, there was really great dialogue with the neighbors and the applicant, in this case, Dom Construction, in terms of how to best accommodate the citizens, but also put a really great opportunity for additional living accommodations available. I saw that as a textbook public engagement and an opportunity to enhance living in Ayton. So well done to that. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. And just hanging out down in the Ayton area there,
Yeah.
everybody's very happy with what's going on, and they're looking forward to the completion. So
Yeah.
it's, I know all the people that live in that area are really looking forward to a high-end rental.
Absolutely good news story for West Grey and Ayton in particular. Councillor Hamilton, please.
This is a very exciting development. I'm just going to put my dark sky committee hat on and just ask about dark skies and the lighting, and if that's addressed in the site plan agreement, or perhaps a brochure was provided to the developer, or how that will be addressed.
So this brochure you're speaking of, is
Oh.
that something that you'd like more information
Sure.
presented?
Well, if you recall, when we had the Dark Sky Committee come forward, a brochure was in the agenda package.
Yes.
And at that time, Clerk Turner thought that might be an appropriate handout for future development. So I'm just raising that now to see if that's part of this conversation.
Thank you. The purpose of my inquiry was just to present it again.
Oh.
And also for clarification through our clerk. Thank you
Yes,
very
thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
No, that was not presented. I will have to make note of that again. This wasn't, again, it was an existing building, but perhaps exterior lighting may account for that. I can run that by Mr. Dom, certainly make that known to him and see if he can facilitate that.
Okay.
But that's a good reminder. I'll make sure that's done.
For sure. We're figuring this out together. Thank you, Clerk Turner.
That is absolutely correct. We are, for sure. All right, anything else on this item? All right, so we will look at it again in our proposed bylaws. So that does conclude all of the items on Clerk Turner's report. We are now on proposed bylaws for first, second, and third reading. Starting with proposed bylaw 57-2019. Thank you. All right. I'll just wait for the final one. Thank you. All right, we have three proposed bylaws, as I mentioned, moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, seconded by Councillor Shea. Be it resolved that bylaw number 57-2019, being a bylaw to enter into a site plan control agreement between the Municipality of West Grey and Dom Holdings Limited, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and engrossed in the bylaw book. Questions? Calling the question, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. That's 57. All right, moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Hutchinson. Be it resolved that bylaw number 58-2019, being a bylaw to approve and authorize the execution of a service agreement between the Municipality of West Grey and Evolta Software, Inc., be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and engrossed in the bylaw book. Questions? Councillor Townsend.
Yeah, I did a quite extensive review on it, on the agreement itself, and there are significant errors in the agreement. It refers to incorrect sections. There's gaps in some of the terms and conditions, and having done IT contracts for a career, I can tell you that it's not one that I would approve as it stands, and there should be some further follow-up with that.
Okay, so with that, we should table this so that it could come forward again. And I would ask that Madam CAO convey that to our chief building official, and also go through the agreement and then present that at a future meeting. Having said that, Clerk Turner, could you now respond?
Yeah, obviously, we'd like to know what changes Councillor Townsend suggesting, and for that matter, any other council members that have reviewed it and have any concerns, maybe before it's tabled, we can note those, and then we can, or at least you can send them along to perhaps well, myself or the CEO, and we'll vet it through the building official.
So you're wanting all the details more than he has presented at this point?
He can provide them in time, but I wasn't sure if any other council members may have any other comments as well.
One other comment is, I think that there should be a legal review of
Yes.
that agreement as part of the vetting. That's the big one. I'm sure they'll catch
Yeah.
a lot of the things that are in there, or at least they'll question them, things like indemnity and the way that's worded, and also, like I say, the cross-reference. And I can give you those sections that are referred to the wrong place. And I think they've added a section which has now sent other things off, and they may have deleted one later in the agreement, which now sends it the other way. So I'll provide the actual detail, but that's really the context
Yeah.
of the big items. There's some smaller stuff there, but those are the big ones that I think need to be addressed, particularly indemnification these days.
Agreed. Councillor Herger, please, and then Councillor Shea.
I was just going to ask that in the future, well, I'm not even sure actually, has this been through our solicitor? And if it hasn't, then I guess in the future, if there's any like long-term agreement, so if I'm looking at a 5-year term, I would like that to go to our solicitor before it would come to us, and I just think that's proper due diligence.
Yeah, and I agree, and that was the expectation, that when we do have agreements, that they are vetted through our lawyer. So lesson learned, so noted. Okay, on that one, Councillor Shea.
Well, I don't know. It's a software licensing agreement. We just agreed to license Microsoft Office for a number of people on council. That had a agreement attached to it that everybody had to click OK. We didn't have our lawyers review that. So I'm wondering, I agree that if Councillor Townsend has found mistakes, they should be fixed, but I'm not sure this needs to go for a legal review. It's just a software licensing agreement.
And therein lies the dilemma where we're looking for a review of it. So you know what? We are going to, the idea is that I think agreements such of this nature should be vetted. I think the other one that you spoke of was more of a basic agreement that we were able to agree to, that we didn't require going through legal. So we'll just have to go on a case by case. How about we do that? We agree on a case by case where it's determined that if we need to go through a lawyer, we will do our due diligence in that fashion. If it's determined that we not need to, then we will not, if that makes sense. All right, fair enough. I want to go on this side, and then now with the clerk. Clerk Turner? Yes, please.
Of course, if we're going to go by a case by case, then we will have to bring an agreement before council to determine whether or not you want it vetted for legal. So there will be a bit of a delay if that's the way we're going to proceed.
Well, you know, not to drag this out, but I think there's a determination on when we have an agreement that's at the staff level that it should be before the legal. We've had some dialogue in the past where I've asked if it's gone through legal, and then it goes through legal before it hits the council table. So I think we've got that flexibility and sophistication both with staff and council. Yeah, that we can handle that. It's not to hold up an item from coming before us, but we can make that professional determination. I'm very confident of both staff and council. Councillor Shea and then Councillor Herger.
So to that point, Mark, are there other contracts that we enter into that staff is authorized to enact without coming to council? Like when I saw this in our council package, I thought, this really should be delegated. I didn't think I was in a position to really analyze this document, and I trust you guys to do it. Do we delegate these sorts of things on an ongoing basis? Or
There's very few agreements, if any, that we have delegated authority to, but we have a delegated authority bylaw which permits, like, for instance, I can approve kennel licenses, for instance. That's been delegated, things like that.
Food truck license.
Yes, refreshment vehicle license, food truck license as well. If there are certain agreements that council wishes to delegate to the CEO or myself, then those should be identified. But obviously there's quite a few agreements that come to that need ratification or approval, whether they're emergency services agreement, tripartite agreements, that kind of thing, site plan agreements.
And let's not forget that part of the resolution is authorizing the mayor and the clerk to sign. And I want that authorization at this table for my signature to be valid for an agreement. So yeah, although we have a delegation bylaw, which we can get into another time, not for this discussion, but certainly through agreements, I will bring them forward for consideration of council for my signature or not my signature. So I think that's really important. But so noted, Councillor Shea, on the discussion. I think it's worthy of further discussion on different points. But back to this item. Is there enough within the concerns of the agreement that we need to get this fine-tuned and make a determination whether it needs to go through bylaw, before it becomes a bylaw, through legal? I think it's Councillor Hergert, then Councillor Townsend, and we can move this item on.
Yes, so I believe that there is. This is a company that originally was Finnish or Denmark, or like one of the European countries. So this might be one of their first contracts in Canada. It's probably not their first, but it could be third. Okay, third contract here in Canada. So I think for our own security, this is $20,000 a year for the next 5 years. So there's $100,000 on the line. Who gets to keep all the documents, all the information afterwards, all of those items, I think really do need to go through our solicitor on this. And so I would move that we would have our solicitor's endorsement on this prior to ratification. And I would also like our delegation of authority bylaw at a future committee of the whole meeting where we could all review that and feel comfortable and give staff their authority to move forward on items.
Mm-hmm. And I think this bylaw was not before us at Committee of the Whole. Just refresh my memory. This was not, although we had the discussion with our chief building official, and the software approach makes a lot of sense. The actual agreement was not before us. So I think that is just a fine-tuning item that the agreement should potentially be part of the Committee of the Whole so that we can address it informally in committee and then not have the, per se, the discussion here. The working part of our responsibility can just be put over to Committee of the Whole. So I'm just looking to our CAO to just ensure that in the future when we have items such as this, the proposed agreement could be part of that report at Committee of the Whole, and we can have that opportunity. It's a fine-tuning process thing, and I think that makes sense as we're hearing here. All right, so we do have a motion. Are you seconding it, Councillor Townsend? Okay, so I just, I want it moved in second before we have the comments. Clerk Turner, would you just please read back what the motion is before us?
It may need to be added, but be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality hereby tables Resolution number 454 of 19 to obtain a legal review of the proposed Evolta Software Inc. agreement and amend identified errors.
Okay.
I can note in the minutes, if I can put in the resolution, but perhaps I can put in the minutes if you wish the delegation authorities bylaw to be brought back to a future committee of the whole meeting for discussion.
Yeah.
If that's sufficient.
It's good tracking that way, so I like it. All right, every mover and seconder good with the language on that? Questions? I'll start with Councillor Townsend, who indicated a comment.
Yeah, to address Councillor Shea's comment about, we bought software like Microsoft.
Yeah.
That is called off-the-shelf software, and normally they're pretty standard. You can read it any time. It's the actual user. Try to change it would probably be almost impossible as to use it as is or not. This is not just software. This is services as well. It's talking about we grant them rights to our data. They have the right to use it, which they need to provide the service. Understand that. No restriction. They also talk about things like you got to give a year's notice. And the year begins at the end of the calendar year in which you give them notice. So we're signing up for 5 years beginning August 6th. So if we want to give a year's notice, right, then we've got to do it the year before, or we're giving a year and a half, almost 2 years notice. that to me is not acceptable, right? You're locked in. If they breach, right, if they do something that's negligent, it's okay, we indemnify them. If they do gross negligence, we don't. Do you understand the difference? I know what it's intended to do, but I don't in the terms of the agreement. It's those kind of things that you really need to make sure a lawyer has a look at. They understand the difference between the two specifically, and it's not just do they understand the difference, but in terms of the other language that accompanies it. So it's not off the shelf, it's custom agreement rather than something that's standard you'll see virtually anywhere. Okay, so I just thought that would be helpful to share that with the rest of council.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that a lot. Now, we have a mover and a seconder. Mover was Councillor Hergert, seconder was Councillor Townsend. The motion has been read. Is there any other comments or questions? I'm looking. Calling the question, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? It does carry. So we're just on the last bylaw, which is our confirming bylaw. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Hergert, seconded by Councillor Shea. Be it resolved that bylaw number 59-2019 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the August 6, 2019 council meeting be now read a first, second, and third time passed and numbered, and that said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation and engrossed in the bylaw book. Normally no questions at this stage. Calling the question, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. So that completes our bylaw section. Thank you, Clerk Turner. New business. Our first new business under item 14 deals with miscellaneous correspondence, C8, Diane Jones, July 30th, 2019, Committee of the Whole Resolution, Committee of the Whole, COW 42-19, Re-Climate Change Emergency Crisis. All right, I'm looking for a motion. Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you. So at Committee of the Whole, we had a delegation with Diane and Athens and Lydia and Malia who brought the climate change crisis forward to West Grey, that we declare it, that we tell our community this is important, that we're going to tackle this, and we're going to take action in developing a climate change action plan. And there was consensus at our table that this was important to us. And at Committee of the Whole, we unanimously approved the declaration or the resolution that's here before us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. I'm going to just read it, and then if there's any other comments, I'll entertain them at that time. Thank you very much for those eloquent words. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Hutchinson. Whereas the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report states that the world has less than 12 years to avert the worst impacts of climate crisis. And whereas municipalities will bear the burden of much of the financial damage associated with climate change because of a dramatic increase in costs of road maintenance, inland flooding, water quality, winter recreation, and bridges. And whereas the municipalities across Canada and Ontario are acting on climate change, and since January 2019, more than 822 municipalities, towns, cities, and countries worldwide have declared a climate change. Now therefore be it resolved that the municipality of West Grey officially declares a climate crisis to name and deepen our commitment to protecting our economy, our community, our ecosystems from the climate crisis. Climate crisis solutions not only reduce carbon output, but they also offer multiple benefits, including improved health and quality air quality, greater community resilience, economic development, and reduced costs. And be it further resolved that the municipality of West Grey directs West Grey Sustainability Committee to work with the stakeholders through consultation to develop a fact-based, measurable climate action plan for fighting the climate crisis in West Grey. And that a copy of the resolution be forwarded to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the local MPP, Bill Walker, the MP, Larry Miller, and the Minister of Government and Consumer Services. Questions or comments? Councillor Hergert.
Yes, so as this is a federal election year, and Larry Miller, we know, is not running, seeking re-election, I would also like this circulated to all the potential candidates that would represent our area. It really lets them know that this is on our radar. And further to what Councillor Hamilton had mentioned, was it's not us telling our community this is important. Our community came to us and told us this is very important. So I think it is important that we circulate this also to all the Gray, Bruce, Owen Sound MP candidates.
So as the mover, would you accept that? Councillor Hamilton?
And I accept those comments too. Yes, thanks for mentioning that. As long as that's a feasible thing for our clerk to do, is that it's a great
We'll
recommendation.
give it my best shot.
Okay. Yay. May I add that we could circulate to each lower tier municipality in Gray and Bruce as well? Would that be a relatively easy thing to do, Clerk Turner?
That one is, we know
Thank
that
you.
one. Okay, so you heard the amendments as the seconder. Councillor Hutchinson, are you okay with them? Good, all right. Any further comments? All right, I just want to say that we heard the delegation. We heard it loud and clear as a call to action. We enjoyed the presentation, but it was much more than that. The fact is we listened, and that the resolution, if it passes, and I have every indication that it will, that it is a commitment on our behalf. So I think well done to the community, and we thank you for bringing this to our attention. Okay, thank you. Having said that, have I stirred up any other comments? Yes, Councillor Hutchinson.
Yeah, I just have a question about procedure, and maybe I should know this, but I don't. I'm just curious why this resolution, when you look at, we have a page of summary of resolutions, and I think Mark's tried to explain this to me, but we have a summary of resolutions that we brought forward from our committee of the whole. I'm just curious why this one isn't on that list, and yet it had to be brought out of the consent agenda.
Yep,
So
fair question.
can you explain the difference maybe for that, Clerk Turner?
The council procedure bylaw requires any declarations or proclamations be included in miscellaneous correspondence. So it was a recommendation from the committee of the whole, but it did not come before council. Therefore, it has to be in the miscellaneous correspondence and pulled.
That's how it stands right now through our procedural bylaw. As you know, we're doing a review of the procedural bylaw, but that is quite correct. So thank you for stating that. Clerk Turner, any other comments before I call the question? All right, calling the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That does carry unanimously, and I need to make that declaration that it's unanimous. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Councillor Shea, please.
Through you to Clerk Turner, will there be a follow-up in writing to the proponent?
I can certainly include her with the letter that will be sent and the resolution, yes. I'll note that.
That is an affirmative, yes. All right. So any other new business? Councillor Herger.
So back to the Ayton parking lot, I guess I'm interested to know what it would take. I know that this was a budget consideration. I know that it came back to us, there was a portion at the back that was added or was maybe not included in the quote that we received at budget time. So now I'm speaking about approximately a 15 by 40 section that abuts Gray Road 3 that has not been paved, and it would be in between the two pillars that are there. So I'm just curious, we're past budget time. How do we get that included? I know everybody's gone now, but it looks a little ridiculous.
No, thanks for bringing that to our attention. I'm going to ask this question of our CIO. Was that not part of the budget consideration and the approval of the budget for that paving?
Thank you for the question, Madam Mayor, and through you to Councillor Hergert. That was my understanding, so I have a message to the facility manager to find out what the status is, and I'll be able to report back to council.
Thank you very much. That was my understanding as well, that was part of it. So we'll get to the bottom of it, and we'll respond accordingly. So thank you very much. Further? No, anything as I move over? All right. So we're off new business. Addendums? There are no addendums. We're coming dangerously close to adjournment on this. This is an early meeting. Item 16, notice of motion, direct motions. I'm not aware of any, Clerk Turner. No? All right, so we're moving off item 16. Item 17 is closed session, incomplete items only. We are an NA on that one. Item 18, matters arising from closed session, incomplete items only. Again, NA. Question period, item 19. Members of the audience, do you have any questions pertinent to this agenda? Yes, please.
It's not a question, it's just thank you, and for this climate crisis declaration. I think it's really great, and I really do hope the council does take an action on this, and that, when a developer or someone comes in and goes, yeah, we're going to do that you don't just go, okay. You say, okay, show us the plan. We want to know what are the numbers, and make sure that they really are following the spirit of what we're trying to achieve, whether it's through the Dark Sky Proclamation or through this Climate Crisis Proclamation, but that we're actually meeting the spirit of it as well as just the language.
Thank you, Mary. I really appreciate those comments, and I'm going to flip it into a question, and that is, yes, this council is very action-oriented, and I think that is very important. When citizens bring information to us or a call to action, we obviously do the assessment. We absolutely appreciate citizen engagement, and we're ready to move along. And good timing, because we're coming up to a new budget cycle, multi-year. Thank you. Diane Jones? Sure, please. Yes.
Of course, it's a word of thank you and deep gratitude, but and also admiration, because you're being viewed as a progressive, cooperative council, and I even admire how well you interact and work together. But you have listened to your constituents, and you've come forward with such a welcoming role model for the young people who came forward. You were very encouraging to them, and more and more, this is what we can build upon. And I guess what I'm, in my excitement, if we may build on this and with a really good rollout of what we've achieved and what has been agreed upon, but with an appropriate press release, which also gives a great opportunity to welcome people to sit on the Sustainability Advisory Committee. So again, heartfelt thanks, and I'm very excited, and this is really causing a ripple, and West Grey is so on the map. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Diane Jones, for those words and comments, and I very much appreciate it. And through your question, yes, there will be a press release, and it'll be absolutely an enjoyable one to have written and participate in. So yes, stay tuned for that very much. Okay, any other questions? All right, we're moving off the questions. Item 20, which is Municipal Act notices, there are none. I'm looking for an adjournment on item 21. Councillor Hutchinson, Councillor Townsend, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.